Mill-Unjoni Ewropea illum, regoli ġodda dwar ir-reati ambjentali u s-sanzjonijiet marbuta magħhom. U l-isfida tal-inflazzjoni u ż-żidiet fil-prezzijiet tal-ikel. Iżda se nibdew billi nitkellmu dwar ir-riforma tar-regoli tal-Unjoni Ewropea dwar il-liċenzji tas-sewqan li għaddiet mill-Parlament Ewropew il-ġimgħa li għaddiet. B'aktar minn 20,000 ħajja mitlufa fit-toroq tal-pajjiżi Ewropej kull sena, il-Parlament Ewropew appoġġa r-riforma tar-regoli tal-Unjoni Ewropea dwar il-liċenzji tas-sewqan. Il-membri parlamentari Ewropej iridu li s-sewwieqa jkunu mħejjija aħjar għal sitwazzjonijiet reali li jġib miegħu s-sewqan u jkunu konxi tar-riski li jista' jkun hemm għal persuni mexjin fit-triq, iċ-ċiklisti u dawk li jużaw scooters elettriċi. Għalhekk qalu li s-sewqan f'kundizzjonijiet ta' borra, silġ u sitwazzjonijiet perikolużi oħra għandhom ikunu parti mit-test tas-sewwieq biex tinkiseb il-liċenzja. Qablu wkoll li l-liċenzji tas-sewqan għandhom ikunu validi għal mill-inqas 15-il sena l-muturi u l-karozzi u 5 snin għat-trakkijiet u l-karozzi tal-linja. Huma ma appoġġawx it-tnaqqis tal-validità tal-liċenzja tas-sewqan għall-anzjani kif propost mill-Kummissjoni Ewropea biex tiġi evitata d-diskriminazzjoni u jiġi żgurat id-dritt tagħhom għal moviment ħieles tal-persuni. Il-Viċi President tal-Kummissjoni Ewropea Dubravka Suica qalet li din hi leġiżlazzjoni storika.
This is a historic piece of legislation. If adopted, this will be the 4th such directive since the original ones adopted in 1980. Today we are so used to the fact that we can drive across the European Union with one driving license that it seems difficult to imagine when driving licenses were not automatically recognized between member states. Since 1980, we have gathered countless best practices, closed loopholes, implemented important reforms and adapted to a changing world. The revision again improves what we already have. It does not seek to reinvent the wheel, and I would ask you not to support amendments that could hamper the elements which work well and are the basis of the well-established system. Amendments to definitions and minimum age requirements currently in force fall into this category. These are especially important for categories B and B1. I would also like to remind you that introducing the concept of demerit points to the directive is problematic, as this would likely prove to be technically challenging to implement, considering there is no harmonisation of road traffic offences and penalties at the European level. Moreover, the merit points schemes where these are used vary significantly from one member state to another. I would ask you to instead focus on issues on which we put attention when drafting the proposal. One concerns the accompanying driver scheme in the European Union. We are proposing that it should be open to 17 years old for licence categories B and C, as we wish to build on the positive results seen in the member states that already have such a system. We now want to make the scheme mandatory.
Sewwieqa mingħajr esperjenza jkollhom jgħaddu minn perjodu ta' sewqan bi prova ta' mill-inqas sentejn li matulhom ikunu soġġetti għal ċerti restrizzjonijiet bħal limiti tal-alkoħol aktar stretti waqt is-sewqan u pieni eħrex għas-sewqan mhux sikur. Bilan li jittaffa n-nuqqas ta' sewwieqa professjonali, il-membri tal-Parlament Ewropew qablu wkoll li jippermettu li żgħażagħ ta' 18-il sena jiksbu liċenzja biex isuqu trakk jew karozza b'massimu ta' 16-il passiġġier sakemm ikollhom ċertifikat ta' kompetenza professjonali. Il-membri parlamentari Ewropej huma favur ukoll l-introduzzjoni ta' liċenzja ta' sewqan diġitali li tkun fuq il-mobile. Il-problema ta' żieda fil-prezzijiet tal-ikel madwar il-pajjiżi kollha Ewropej u wkoll l-inflazzjoni kienet indirizzata f'dibattitu fil-Parlament Ewropew fejn il-Kummissarju Ewropew għall-Azzjoni fil-Klima Wopke Hoekstra qal li l-pajjiżi Ewropej għandhom sfida qudiemhom biex jindirizzaw din il-problema. Sostna li f'Marzu tas-sena l-oħra iż-żieda fil-prezzijiet tal-ikel kienet ta' 9.3%.
And this is especially serious in countries where food represents a high share of overall household consumption, notably in parts of Central and Eastern Europe. And it is serious throughout Europe for low-income households, which were most affected by inflated energy prices as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the major drivers of food price inflation were the prices of key farming inputs like energy and fertilizers, especially following the horrible invasion of the horrible Russian invasion of Ukraine. In addition, wages in both food manufacturing and distribution have picked up in the last couple of years. However, since March 2023, food inflation is steadily slowing down across the European Union. Energy and fertilizer prices did go down after October 2022. Last month, food inflation stood at 4.8% in the euro area. And we're seeing the first signs of food deflation since last summer. And this has had an impact on household income too. Real gross disposable household income started to increase again in 2023. And let me be crystal clear. We should stay very vigilant against any renewed pressure on our food prices. This is, if you will, in a nutshell, the current situation. But we should draw lessons for the work we have ahead of us. In March of 2022, the Commission adopted a dedicated communication on food security. And we suggested measures like improved flexibility of the Fund for European Aid to the most deprived to boost food banks. Our Repower EU package included many measures to tackle energy poverty in particular. And the Commission welcomes moves in several member states to reduce VAT on essential foods, which the Union made possible since April of 2022. And we also welcome food vouchers or other support, particularly for the most vulnerable. At the same time, we must ensure that Member States' actions against inflation, including price caps, do not have unintended consequences on our single market. The Commission continues to monitor markets and works with national competition authorities to investigate any anti-competitive behaviour that may actually inflate food prices. During the past year, several national competition authorities have launched investigations into pricing in the food chain. And looking ahead, the transition into sustainable food systems is a shared responsibility. And let me stress that, Mr. President, a shared responsibility where we should all share the costs and the benefits.
Fl-aħħar jiem il-Parlament Ewropew approva regoli ġodda dwar ir-reati ambjentali u s-sanzjonijiet marbuta magħhom b'499 vot favur, 100 kontra u 23 astenzjoni. Il-Parlament Ewropew adotta direttiva ġdida li biha l-kummerċ illegali tal-injam, it-tnaqqis tar-riżorsi tal-ilma u t-tniġġis mill-bastimenti saru reati kriminali. Ma' dawn, il-membri tal-Parlament Ewropew żguraw li ir-regoli l-ġodda ikun fihom reat kwalifikat bħal nirien fil-foresti fuq skala kbira jew it-tniġġis mifrux tal-arja, tal-ilma u tal-ħamrija li jwassal għal erda ta' ekosistema. Id-direttiva l-ġdida tistabbilixxi li r-reati ambjentali minn individwi jew kumpaniji se jkunu punibbli bi priġunerija skont kemm ikun sever ir-reat. Ir-reati kwalifikati jistgħu jingħataw pina ta' 8 snin, dawk li jikkawżaw il-mewt ta' persuna pina ta' 10 snin u reati oħra jistgħu iwasslu sa' pina ta' 5 snin ħabs. Minn barra hekk, kull min iwettaq reat irid jirranġa l-ħsara li tkun saret lill-ambjent u jikkumpensa l dik il-ħsara. L-Istati Membri Ewropej se jkunu jistgħu jiddeċiedu jekk iħarkux reati kriminali li ma jkunux seħħu fit-territorju tagħhom. Il-membri tal-Parlament Ewropew żguraw ukoll li l-Istati Membri għandhom jorganizzaw taħriġ speċjalizzata għall pulizija l-imħalfin u l-prosekuturi u jorganizzaw kampanja l-ġlieda kontra l-kriminalità ambjentali. Wara l-votazzjoni fil-plenarja, ir-rapporter tal-Parlament Ewropew Antonius Menders qal li dan hu pass kbir fid-direzzjoni tajba.
I'm happy that in the future, if this adopted version, this legislation will be implemented within 2 years in the member states, that at least we can hold the CEOs of these companies personally liable at criminal courts. That doesn't mean that we have to build a lot of prisons, but it means that we introduce prevention. That means that we introduce the precautionary principle. That means that we introduce the duty of care. And I convinced, when I was talking in the trilogue, the Council didn't want to have this dynamic approach. And then I asked the ambassador of Spain. Spain was president of the Council that time. I said, I have a permit, and that's a permit, I explain now the permit defense. I told him I have a permit to drive 100 kilometers an hour on a highway. Fine, that's my authorization. So then I see some children playing on the highway. I'm allowed then, because I have a permit, to drive 100 kilometers an hour? And then the ambassador said, no, of course not. I said, am I then allowed to drive 80 kilometers an hour? No, he said, even you have to stand still to avoid an accident with these children. And I said, that's exactly what we want to achieve with this dynamic approach of the permit defense. For example, we have Kemoer in the Netherlands. They have a permit to do some pollution, let's say illegal pollution with PFAS. And now, 20 years later, it seems that PFAS is causing cancer and causing deaths. Can they then still go on with polluting because they have a permit? According to this new law, this cannot be the case anymore.
Id-direttiva ta' reati ambjentali se tidħol fis-seħħ fl-20 jum mill-pubblikazzjoni tagħha fil-Ġurnal Uffiċjali tal-Unjoni Ewropea. L-Istati membri se jkollhom sentejn biex ibidlu r-regoli fis-sistemi nazzjonali tagħhom. Il-kriminalità ambjentali hi r-raba' l-akbar attività kriminali fid-dinja u hi waħda mis-sorsi ewlenin ta' dħul għall kriminalità organizzata mad-drogi, l-armi u t-traffikar tal-bnedmin.